All right, morning, fam. I know I'm gone today, and Mr. Albertson's here, but I'm going to go ahead and give you the instructions and of what you need to do today, and then talk through a couple of things. Just to remind you that your assessment for this is Monday when I get back, and when you get back. When we're all back together Monday, we're going to take our Chapter 3 assessment over geography. So here's our last day to prepare for it in class. My hope is if you use your time wisely enough, you don't need to do a lot of studying over the weekend, or maybe not at all, kind of depending on what it is that you get done. So here's what we're doing today. We're going to review for the assessment because we're, again, analyzing how geographic factors have influenced where people settle. Like how did geography dictate where people live in America? So what we're going to look at is I'm going to show you the last 3 city paragraphs. That will be New Orleans, Denver, and San Francisco. I'll talk through those, and then I'm going to turn you loose in Google Classroom with the stuff below there, the paragraphs, and then the review game for those that need to do that. So yesterday we talked about what? We talked about Pittsburgh and Chicago and St. Louis. Okay, so today we've got the last 3 to do. First one of that group is New Orleans, and here's a student paragraph from before. New Orleans is important because the Mississippi River goes through New Orleans, and the river is a good resource for transporting goods or trade. The river also gives settlers a good water source for farming crops. New Orleans' size is because of the Mississippi River. Okay, that's true, kind of. The Gulf of Mexico, which I'd have down in parentheses, right down here, that's really important. So you need to make sure, if you're going to write about New Orleans, you got to make sure you have that in there. New Orleans is big because the Mississippi River is big, yes, but also because it's right by the Gulf of Mexico. The stuff that's made in New Orleans can be shipped all over the world because it's on the Gulf of Mexico. That's really important and helps explain why New Orleans is where it is and why it's as big as it is. The other thing, too, is petroleum is a natural resource nearby New Orleans. That's a really important natural resource, right? It's oil. It gives us gasoline. So that's important as well. You would want to factor those into your answer, too. The next paragraph is Denver, Colorado. Denver is located where the Rocky Mountains meet the Great Plains. You get that straight up from those from your physical features map, your map number 2, the big map, knowing that Denver is where those 2 things meet, and that's important for understanding the physical features of Denver. It grew up along the Platte River and has coal mining and uranium mining nearby. Now, the Platte River is not that big, but we're talking about the Great Plains, and pretty much any river in the Great Plains that has water in it is kind of a big deal because the Great Plains are very dry. So that would be important. Again, your map doesn't have Platte River on it, and that's okay. But to notice it from like Google Earth, I think that's a good call. The coal mining, uranium mining is nearby, and that's going to drive some factories and some manufacturing there, so that is important. And while the Platte River is not very big, the fact that that there are relatively few rivers or big cities in the region allowed Denver to grow to be a major metropolitan area. It's kind of what I was saying. Because there's a river there with water in it, the Platte River, Denver can grow up there. And maybe more importantly, Denver is the big city of the Rocky Mountains because the Rocky Mountains need a big city. No matter how sparsely a place is populated, you need a city that has an airport and has a lot of shopping and has some manufacturing and has office building, those kinds of things. You need that in every region, and Denver is that for the Rocky Mountains in Colorado. The one thing that's not mentioned in this paragraph is the livestock raising, because that is important as well, and it's just to the east of Denver in the Great Plains. The last paragraph, the last city is San Francisco, California. San Francisco is situated between the Pacific Ocean and San Francisco Bay. Those 2 things are really important. The Pacific Ocean is on your map. San Francisco Bay, you hopefully saw that on Google Earth. San Francisco is actually in a really bad location for a city. I mean, it makes sense. It's on a peninsula between the ocean and San Francisco Bay, but the ground there is very, very rugged. It's very hilly, very rough. A lot of earthquakes, so it's not a great location for a city, but because it's between the ocean and the bay, that's really important. And because it was near the gold fields during the gold rush, San Francisco became the first important city on the West Coast. Besides gold, San Francisco is also near natural gas deposits and hydroelectric power, and that kind of makes sense when you know a little bit about the area. San Francisco is also in one of the most densely populated areas in the West because of the trade and manufacturing that goes on nearby. And if you were to look at the map, population density map, map number 4, especially in the textbook, the darkest areas of population pretty much are like New York City and the Great Lakes and Chicago, like those areas. And then clear out to the west, the lone dark spot really is San Francisco, because of San Francisco and San Jose and Oakland, California, those 3 big cities right along San Francisco Bay. So there's that, and that really does matter. The one thing that's left off here is the Sierra Nevada mountains. Those are right by San Francisco. In fact, that's where the gold was found in the gold rush, so make sure you would mention that. Okay, what I want you to do is in Google Classroom, right below here, is the Chapter 3 assessment review. So you're going to open that up, and there's a document, and basically it looks a lot like your test you're going to take on Monday. I'm fulfilling my promise of always showing you the questions ahead of time. So you're going to pick 2 of these cities to write paragraphs for. I want you to use your maps, and I want you to type the paragraphs right in there in the Google Docs. You don't have to turn it in, but I want you to type them in there and take your time and do a really good job with it. You can't use these on the test on Monday, but if you do a good job and you think it through and be conscientious of writing your paragraphs, this will stick with you. And when you come in and take the test on Monday, it'll be right there. It'll be really super simple and easy. When you're done with that, if you don't have to take the map test on Monday, then you can just free read or do something silently like homework. If you do have to take the map test on Friday, then go down to the interactive link, and I want you to scroll down to the bottom of that page and play the Find the Feature game. And that's a game of physical features of the United States. They're all in there. They actually have a few more than I need you to know. And the Great Lakes they do separately and not as one whole thing, but that's okay. It's still fun, and it's actually a pretty good, fun way to review for the map test that'll be on Monday. So that's what I need you to do. If you have questions, you can ask Mr. Albertson. He'd be more than happy to help you. It should be pretty straightforward. I just need you to work hard today on this Friday so that we're ready to go for our test on Monday. So thanks, fam, and I will see you Monday. Have a great weekend.